Imagine a crisis so absolute that the only way to save your city is to drop an atomic bomb on your own home. In 2023, Godzilla Minus One became a global box office phenomenon, but for many, the title remained a confusing piece of marketing. The name actually describes a mathematical map of national collapse. It tracks a descent into ruin that sets the stage for a 2026 sequel, where the survivors face a choice that could destroy the very piece they fought to rebuild. The equation begins at zero. By late 1945, bombing campaigns had effectively erased Japan's major cities. Infrastructure was gone, and the country had been reduced to ashes. This wasn't just a loss of territory. The populace had lost everything. In the wake of the atomic bombings, millions were left starving and homeless among the ruins. Under the U.S. occupation, Japan was stripped of its military and left entirely defenseless. The state had reached its lowest possible baseline. Then, the variable arrives. In 1946, U.S. nuclear testing during Operation Crossroads mutated a deep-sea reptile into a radioactive behemoth. When this monster strikes a nation that is already disarmed and ruined, it drags them below the point of survival. That calculation is the origin of the title, Minus One. The narrative frames Godzilla as the physical threat, but identifies the Japanese government as the primary source of the story's malice. Our protagonist, Shikishima, is a kamikaze pilot who abandoned his suicide mission. He returns home to a country that views his survival as a mark of deep, agonizing shame. Through him, the film indicts a state that treated life cheaply. It highlights the reality of starving supply lines, tanks with paper-thin armor, and planes built specifically for suicide attacks. In response, the citizens form their own coalition. They rebuild with a new collective rule. Their goal is to stop the monster while ensuring that every participant survives. This rejection of government-mandated death is what makes the film a meaningful anti-war story, rather than a simple monster blockbuster. This spirit of independence extended to the production itself. Director Takashi Yamazaki created a global hit on a fraction of the budget used for typical American blockbusters. The team relied on practical ingenuity over expensive tech. Instead of using hydraulic rigs, the crew manually shook boat sets and rotated cockpits to simulate the motion of the ocean and flight. That resourcefulness culminated in an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects, with Yamazaki's small team defeating studios that spent 10 times their budget. The film's impact grew further with Minus Color. This meticulously relit black and white version replaced the cinematic look with the terrifying authenticity of a real World War II documentary. By prioritizing character trauma and physical ingenuity over CGI spectacle, Toho set a high standard for what a modern blockbuster can achieve. By 1949, the timeline moves forward. Japan has begun to rebuild its daily life and reclaim its cities from the wreckage of the war. This is the setting for the 2026 sequel, Godzilla Minus Zero, which expands the cinematic scale by being the first Japanese production filmed entirely for IMAX. On this timeline, 0 represents the 1945 surrender, and Minus One represents the 1947 attack. Now we arrive at -0. The trailer reveals the source of that math, a desperate new plan to finish Godzilla using an atomic bomb. There is a heavy irony in this decision. To protect their families, the survivors are considering using the same nuclear weapon that created the monster and destroyed their country in the first place. Minus One focused on the choice to live. -0 asks a grimmer question. When faced with an unstoppable monster, can you stop it without resorting to the violence that started the nightmare?